Okay, so I was not from a traditional entrepreneurial family. My dad was a school teacher. My mum did quite a bit of teaching herself. And if you track back the history of family tree, we weren't really business people. I went to school, got a good education at grammar school. I went to university, did an engineering degree, which was incredibly and hideously boring, but I was able to pass it, ticking the box. And then I went off traveling in America, came back and got a job in the city, like a technical support engineer, which I wasn't very good at, to be honest, didn't really enjoy it, but it did allow me to travel a lot, which I enjoyed. And then some quirk of fate one day, I was looking through the papers in those days. The Daily Telegraph on a Thursday gave like the professional jobs. I mean, now it's completely changed. It's all run on the internet, of course. But I saw a job for a sales engineer, and I just picked the phone up, dialed the recruitment guy, just very instantaneously, and had a chat with him. And he basically said, "You're not qualified, you've got no experience, but you're interested, come and see me," which is what I did. I went to have an interview. Long story short, I got a job as a telesales person, which anyone who's ever done telesales, you know how hard and soul destroying that is. But practice made me get very good at it, and I still use a lot of those skills today, actually. So I've got absolutely no problem picking up the phone to someone I've never spoken to before. And I still use that skill today, and that's been part of my success, I think, in life. And worked my way up through that business to kind of run the global sales of that. That's a PLC business. But always knew I didn't want to accompany Jaguar, smoke cigars and go to golf days. So corporate golf days, I wanted to do something on my own. And I think in the first dot-com bust around about 2002, I got the opportunity to take redundancy, which I did. And I looked at a lot of different things I could turn my hand to. And I realized I wanted to I'd worked in a technical kind of business, essentially. So it was very middle-aged white men, overpaid probably. And I wanted to work with the other half of the population, females. I wanted to work in more of a branded, let's say, creative endeavor. So I looked at several things, and really, long story short, I met a guy in a nightclub who had an idea about selling Space Invaders T-shirts, and I knew nothing about fashion and certainly nothing about video games. And we struck up a rapport. He was a very charismatic, clever, creative guy. And that's how I got into the T-shirt business. And we started on Portobello Market. Sold one T-shirt in a day. Most sensible people would have given up, but we kept going. And that was my endeavour into licensing and fashion. And since then, I've been managed to build a business which has taken on Disney rights, which has taken on Warner Brothers, mainly most of the biggest entertainment rights you can get in the entertainment space. And that's been the journey. So a lot of bumps along the way. Obviously, disappointment, setbacks, horrendous journeys, but also a lot of upside, work with some amazing people. And still to this day, every day is a battle. Well, the inspiration for me to do a series of a podcast called the Maverick Mindset was because I've always been fascinated by people's stories, and I believe as humans, we learn more from other people and the things they've done and how they've done it. That's mistakes and success on both parts. And in terms of edutainment, we also like stories that entertainers and we can grow from and learn from. And I think some of the guests I've got coming on are true mavericks. They've had very interesting lives. They've been able to overcome immense challenges and develop themselves and grow. And I feel that's something I wanted to share. And in so doing, it's entertaining, but it's also educational. And for listeners who want to come on and listen to the podcast, hopefully there'll be tremendous value for them to learn from those stories, but also enjoy and be entertained at the same time. Okay, so inflation in theory will come down. It has to. It is starting to come down. And that can only be a positive thing for the economy. I mean, 23 has been a very difficult year for retail, certainly in my space, in the licensing space. Probably the hardest year, or certainly one of them. 24, if inflation comes down, it should stimulate the economy. I don't expect 24 to be a gangbusters year. I think what all the people I know in similar businesses have done this year is really look at where their value is and where they need to focus to tighten their belts, watch their overhead, all the traditional things in business, look at their margins and really chase the business that gives them the value, but also keeps them trading and keeps cash flow in the business to survive. It's a difficult economic market. There's only certain pockets that seem to be doing well. The rest of us are having a very tough time. So I'd anticipate 2024 to be a 2% lift isn't going to set the world alight, but if it's better than 23, I'd certainly be very happy. It's a really interesting market. Similar to China, it's very, very rapidly growing and booming in the online space. And certainly China's ahead of the game, I think, globally now. Lots of modern technology. We've seen a lot of competition from China come into the UK market, and I'm sure it's happening in America and Europe as well. I think for India, they've got a huge population. They're late to the game with online, but the way their infrastructure, logistics, where you can deliver parcels to people's homes and businesses is really ticking up. So I think it will be a force to be reckoned with. What we can learn in the UK, well, look, we're still 60 million people here. Everyone's got a smartphone virtually now, so there's lots of growth opportunities. But like anything in the global market we operate in, we've got to keep an eye on what else is going on that can steal our business, but also help us to develop it as well. So I think it's a space to watch. I'd really do. So mental health is one of the most talked about subjects in the media today. And for a very good reason, I believe, because life has changed for all of us with the advent of technology, smartphones, etc., the internet, social media. We're never really offline, and we never really have the chance to create space like we would have done 15 years ago, never mind 50 years ago. In my world, what I've tried to do is to put times in the diary or my schedule, if you like, where I have some clear thinking time and some clear time away from technology to catch up on the bigger things I need to solve in terms of the business I operate in. I call it desk time. I call it time when I can do some deep work without interruption. That's been a big shift I've had to learn, because it's very easy to answer an email, to pick the phone up, to allow people to take your time away. So I think for me, I've had to develop some new disciplines and some new habits. And also, I guess, on the family side of things, I've got two very young kids, and that anyone who knows who's had kids is like an X-set missile being driven through your life constantly. And I have had to really let go of trying to be able to manage the order in my home life. And that's helped me just let go of things and just let it go. And at the end of the day, it's a passive phase. It will get easier. And I've really tried to focus back on the important things in my life and how lucky I am and how fortunate I am. Well, it's always been an ambition of mine to write a book. And like anything, it's a skill. and it needs time to develop. It's taken me like many things in life, it's also taken me longer to get it done than I wanted, but one would hope it will be better for that length of time it's taken, a bit longer. What do I hope to achieve with it? Well, it's a personal ambition. I think it's very difficult to commercially make a lot of money out of books. So it's not that it's got to earn me a fortune or take me on a different journey, but one would hope that I'm setting out my life journey and business journey. So it's cathartic because I'm retelling my story to myself initially almost. And then if other people can pick the book up and read it, and there's some gems of wisdom I can impart through the book to them that they can learn and they can take into their life and make things easier. Because after all, we all learn from other people. Generally, we learn from their mistakes if we're sensible and don't make the same mistakes ourselves. But one would hope it would lead to other things, to be able to write more books, to be able to flex and develop that muscle in my life. And also fundamentally enjoy the process of doing it. It's a journey of self-discovery, really. Well, in terms of public speaking, I think the key facet is to be authentic to yourself. And that might sound like a cliche in the modern world because everyone talks about being authentic and being yourself. But the nature of a public speaker, the greatest public speakers I've always seen and have inspired me have definitely been Mavericks. They've had a very interesting story that's highly engaging and entertaining in many ways. But they've also talked it through from their point of view and how they've learned their way through that journey and that story. And to me, that's the crucial thing. As humans, we love stories. We like to learn from other people. Stories help us visualize things. So as much as we talk about public speaking, it really is painting a picture to somebody about something you're trying to get across. I think the key thing as well to remember in public speaking is it's got to be relevant to your audience. So a great public speaker will always twist the message to suit the audience so that they can get the best value. So I'm at the very young stages or early stages of being a public speaker. It's like my book, it's always been an ambition of mine to be a really good public speaker, maybe a motivational speaker. And I'm on that journey and I've got to enjoy it and learn my trade and hopefully develop and be successful. So the worst business advice I've ever been given, it's an interesting one. It's more of a broader spectrum of if I think back to my life journey, my business journey, when people have given me advice based on their filters that they have in their mind, which are very different to mine, where they might be risk averse, they might have no perspective on my business life or what motivates me, and they'll give their legitimate advice from their point of view. And I've probably on numerous occasions taken in advice from those types of answers or individuals too seriously. It held me back. But that's an experiential thing. Over time, one would hope you get better at understanding their position versus yours. So that's been something I've had to improve on when people do give me advice, because people give you advice and opinions all the time. Best business advice, absolute clarity on this one, is nobody's coming to the rescue. Nobody is coming to the rescue. So what do I mean by that? I mean that everything you do and will become, you've got to take personal responsibility for. And that's something I talk about a lot in the book. And that's something I try to live my life by, with taking responsibility for everything, good and bad, mistakes and successes. Interestingly, you do need luck in life. Everybody has luck, bad luck sometimes, of course, but also good luck. But one would hope that if you learn your trade, put the time in, get your focus right, work on all those aspects of your life, that when luck comes along, an opportunity comes along, all the hard work and effort and learnings you've done will allow you to capitalize on it. So I think that's a byproduct of the byproduct of that is therefore success. So you do need some luck, but you've got to be prepared and have put the hard work and effort in. Best decisions this year are to let go of the minutiae in life, of things that trip you up constantly and you allow to take your focus away. So an example for me is I can't control everything going on in my business or the commercial world. I really need to focus back on what I can control and where I can add value and keep my focus very much there. Another example this year is my two young kids who are 3 and 1 are relentless in a positive way, and I've just had to let go of the control of my time. I just don't have that this year that I've had previous years, and hopefully over time I'll get it back. 2024, I know it's going to be a challenging year, as every year is. I know that the economy is struggling, that business will be tough, and I'm just going to commit to focusing back on where I can create value and where I can push to take my business forward, and really drill down into those areas. That's going to be my focus for 24.